Welcome to the GSMC Golf Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Garrison McDaniel. We have a great show for you guys today where we're going to be talking about the Memorial Tournament kicked off, or it teed off today as we go through our Thursday action. That will be our second segment, talking about what happened today. Our first segment, of course, will be going over the we'll be going over the course overview of the Muirfield Village, talking about the holes, which ones stand out, and how difficult this course is, and who has the edge from that. Our third segment will be me talking about Live Golf Houston as it does come back this weekend for the tournament ahead of the U.S. Open. It's going to be a great experience in the Houston Golf Course or Golf Club. So I'm excited for that one. And our fourth segment will be me talking about the history of the Memorial. Who's won here in the past, most recently to be exact, looking over the leaderboards from 2020 until last year, seeing who has historically played very well here. And then all that, it will lead up to my segment 5, talking about my picks and predictions for the Memorial Tournament at the Muirfield Village Golf Club and Country Club. So I'm very excited for this tournament. As I have mentioned many of times, I am from Columbus, Ohio, where the Memorial is held. So it is a tournament that means a lot to me. But before I get into all of that, I'd love to remind you guys that if you want to support the GSMC Podcast Network at all, use the tips and donations link on the screen right now at gsmcsportsnetwork.net. It does help us out a lot. You can ask me a question. It will appear across the screen. If you guys want to help out the show in any way, that is the best way to do that. But without further ado, as always, we're going to get right into our first segment here, talking about the Muirfield Village, and more specifically talking about the course breakdown of the Muirfield Village, how this course plays. It's such a difficult course, and we see that in the leaderboard. The leader today finishing at 6 under. We're looking probably for the weekend. The winner will probably be around 10, 11 under. It's a very difficult one. So we have plenty of guys here that can golf very well. So they went ahead on Thursday and got the low scores, but going ahead, it won't stay that way. That's why it will end up 10, 11 under. We see that in many tournaments. A lot of people cannot keep that consistent 66 pace going, especially at Muirfield Village, such a difficult course. But talking about the holes and the breakdown of each, hole number 1 today played pretty difficult. It's the fourth. It's tied for the fourth hardest hole. It plays about 0.2 of a stroke above par. Anything that you see in red, it's playing above par. So not a lot of birdies are made on these holes. More bogeys than birdies, of course. It's a 478-yard par 4. It's very far. Looking at how the hole is breaking down, it's kind of a straightaway going into a dogleg right after that initial fairway. You have fairway bunkers on the right, so you can't attack. You can't attack it right. You need to end up in the fairway, and then that gives you about a 200-ish, about a 190 to 200-yard shot onto the green, and then you have a fairway bunker on the front side of the green. And what makes these holes so difficult is how sloped the greens are. All of these greens are play so difficult, and the pin positions today were brutal. On a few of these holes, I think at 9, you could literally see from the broadcast angle the pin was tilted a little bit. You could see the pin tilted, which is so difficult to play. If you guys have played at golf courses, you understand what I'm talking about here. But that's how number 1 plays. It's a straight into a dogleg right that you cannot miss right with your tee shot, or you're in bunker, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4 fairway bunkers on that right side. So that's hole number 1. And then number 2 is a pretty easy par 4. This plays about even par here. We saw one eagle on that one today. Very impressive. I forget who it was, but this plays a little bit over par, but is one of the easier it is one of the easier holes. It's a little bit less of lengthwise, as number 1 was, being 478, and now this one takes down 13 yards. It's 460, 465. So about 300 into just a fairway. You have a little bit of water on your right here, going the entire length of the course, so you can't miss right. But really, this is probably the widest fairway of the day. It's easy to hit this one, and a lot of guys did. And then it just sets up for kind of an easy around the green play. You just need to make your putts here. definitely a birdieable one is 2, and you saw a lot of guys birdieing 2. Number 3 plays a little bit harder. 3 is the third hardest hole on the course, playing about a quarter of a stroke above par. That's very difficult. There were 9 birdies today, 16 bogeys, 5 doubles today on this hole. It's a difficult one. So plays a quarter of a stroke above par is just absolutely brutal. The hardest one on the golf course, of course, 18. That's such a difficult. You're just trying to birdie, or you're just trying to par 18 on this golf course when you get there. But yeah, number 3, very difficult one. How the hole is laid out is this plays like a par 3, but you need to execute your drive, basically. You have a drive onto a very, very big fairway, and then you need to get the ball over the water where the green is on the other side, which if you drive it, this is one of your typical kind of 3-wood drives, or whatever club is most comfortable in your bag. About 250 onto the fairway, and then you have about 150 onto the green from the fairway. And then what makes this hole so difficult is how huge the green is. If you miss short, you're in the water, you're in the lake. If you miss far, you're in bunkers all over the place. And if you miss to the left or to the right, depending on the hole position, then you have about 40 feet of green to work with. And how these greens play, how slopey they are, so unpredictable. That's why this hole is so difficult. That's why it's playing such above par is hole 3. Hole 4, simple, pretty par 3 here. It plays above par, as almost every hole plays above par, but it's about a 200-yard par 4, or par 4, 200-yard par 3. Very long green as well. You kind of need to really pick your spot on the green. It's hard to miss this green. A lot of guys make the green in regulation, but turn it into a 2-putt because it's hard to hit the pin. The pin today was dead middle of this green, basically. It was a little bit back right, but pretty much dead middle of the pin, or dead middle of the green, was this pin, and a lot of people missed it all over the place. So 4 played pretty difficult today. 5 today. This is a pure dogleg right. It turns 90 degrees. So you drive about 280 pretty much are what these drives are looking like, because if you drive at 300, you're in water, because there's a river on the other side of that 300 here. And then you have to cut completely 90 degrees to the right, and then you have 250 yards into the green. So this par 5 plays pretty difficult, but it was today one of the only holes that plays under par. It is the easiest hole on the golf course, still a very difficult hole. A lot of guys were able to make their birdies as their second shots were pretty great today. I saw a lot of great second shots on 5 today, but 3 bunkers on the green, 3 greenside bunkers, and then the water makes this a little bit difficult. That's kind of the theme with Muirfield Village: greenside bunkers, water. You can't miss the green anywhere. It's not safe. There's so little rough and so much hazards on this golf course. Number 6, speaking of water, this is the dead middle ranked hole on the golf course. It's a par 4, 456 that has water right in front of you when you're teeing off, and then you have water right before you get to the green. So a lot of people electing to kind of lay up here and go to the lip instead of take it to the green, because it's about, once you hit your drive, it's about 170 to the green, but it's a very narrow green when you get up there. I think there's about 10 feet lengthwise of the green, so a lot of people are electing to take a little bit of a layup on 6. It's a very difficult hole as well. This golf course is brutal. 7 is an easier par 5, just kind of a typical dogleg left par 5 with bunkers all over it. Won't talk about that one too much. 8 is a very difficult par 3. 8 looks ridiculous when you look at it on paper. There is a bunker all the way around the green, basically. It pretty much encapsulates the entire green. So 211 yard par 3, the 7th hardest hole on the golf course. A lot of bunkers. So if you miss pretty much anywhere, you're in a bunker going onto this very long and very narrow green here too. So depending on where the pin position is, it's going to be one of the harder holes on the course today. or one of the hardest holes on the course this weekend. Number 9 is one of the easier holes. It's a layup. It's a drive about 270 yards. You're gonna look for your 3-wood in this drive to lay up, and then you're gonna take whatever your pretty 140 iron, so probably a 9 iron for most of these guys, onto the green, and then you're just trying to fly it pretty much to the back part of this green because there's water on the front part, of course. The river that runs through Muirfield Village is absolutely brutal, and all these holes deal with it. 10, you have water right when you tee off, goes into fairway bunkers, and then greenside bunkers all over 10. It's tied for the 4th hardest hole on the golf course. It's playing above par. I mean, this golf course is so difficult. 11, it's near 600-yard par 5 with a fairway bunker on the right side, pretty much 300 yards that a lot of people, including Adam Hadwin, who was your leader on the day, found themselves in. This is probably one of your best birdie attempts. 7 and 11 are 2 of your best birdie opportunities on this golf course, but the problem with 11 is the fairway is so narrow on both parts, so it's a divided fairway that gets divided by, you guess it, a river that runs in the middle of it, so it makes it a lot harder than it looks on paper. 12 is the signature hole of this golf course. That and 18, of course. 18 looks over the clubhouse with the clock tower right in the background. It's beautiful. A lot of memorable moments on that green right on 18, but 12 is one of the other memorable places. It's a lake going into a green. It's par 3 that we see on so many holes, but what makes this so special is it is really difficult. This is the 2nd hardest hole on the golf course. It's just a simple par 3, 170-yard par 3. What makes this difficult? This green is brutal. This green is I mean, it slopes every which way. And we saw even today that, I mean, the pros are so concerned on the green and making their shot going into the green that they end up in the water. We saw it on Rory McIlroy during his back 9. He ended up in the water here, got a double bogey on 12 today. And that's kind of what happens when you're so worried about where you're going to get onto the green. Sometimes you just fly it short. And if you fly it short on this hole, you're going to end up in a guaranteed bogey pretty much. So a very hard hole today. This hole played about a little bit over a quarter of a stroke over par. Not a lot of birdies was the other problem. Only 6 birdies today on this hole. Very, very difficult one. And then 13, 14, and 15 is the easiest 3-hole stretch on the golf course. All of these playing at or below par. Pretty easy holes. You're just on 14. You could attack the river, and if you get a great hold of a drive, you can end up on this back part of the fairway close to the green, or you could even end up on the green if you're downhill, downwind. On 14, so that makes that hole pretty fun. 15, a simple par 5 that a lot of people look to capitalize on. 15, 11, 7 are great holes to capitalize on. 1 and 2 are also pretty great holes to capitalize on for these guys that are looking to maybe make a run on a Friday or Saturday. So, and then you're getting into 16, a par 3, as 16s are usually par 3s. This is the 11th hardest hole on the golf course. You got water on your left. You just can't miss left because there's a lake right there. 17, pretty straight away, par 4, about 500 yards. You just need to hit far drives. Adam Hadwin today hit a 320-yard drive on this hole. This is one of the holes that you really could just crank it and let the ball fly. And then 18, you end up with a dogleg right on this par 4. It is the hardest hole on the golf course, as I mentioned. Plays about half a stroke over par. What makes this hole so difficult? First off, there's cart paths everywhere. There's so many hazards. There's fairway bunkers all over the place. The green is brutal on 18. It's so slopey, and this was one of the holes that I saw the pin like on an angle. And then there's water on the left. So if you miss your drive to the left, that could get dangerous. So this golf course is brutal. All of these, I mean, it's just a gauntlet. It plays like a major course. We talk about it every year. So from Muirfield Village, that's the course breakdown. I'm very excited to get into how these holes play. we're going to take our first break of the night, and when I get back, we'll break down the leaderboard from the Thursday's action at Muirfield.